If you're tired of your playing sounding boring or just dull, or you're struggling to try to spice up your chord progressions, this video is for you. You'll discover 5 levels that will take your progressions and make them stand out. And you might even impress some of your friends and family. All right, so let's start simple with level 1 and let's build up with more complex layers. I'll show you how to add each texture and more depth at each step. What you're gonna do is you're gonna begin to learn how to take one of my favorite R&B progressions from basic to skilled, using the techniques that has landed me countless gigs. Now, be sure that you watch until the end so you get the full picture how these levels sound in action, and I'll show you how to have it all come together using a popular R&B song. Now, before we dive into the progressions, it's important to understand the number system. If you're already familiar with the number system and you have a good grasp on how it works and how it is applied to guitar playing, feel free to skip ahead to the next section using the timestamp below. In a nutshell, to understand the number system, you must first start with the major scale. A number is assigned to each position, and each position of the scale has a specific chord assigned to it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to be using the C major scale as an example. We want to focus in on numbers 1 through 7, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay? So 1 is always a major chord. So since our root note is on the A string, that's going to be a C major 7 in the 3rd fret. We're going to slide up a whole step to 2, D minor 7, a whole step to 3. It's E minor 7, a half step up to 4. This is F major 7. Now, if we go back to 1, right on top of 1 on the E string is our 5. We're going to be playing a G major chord. We're going to go a whole step. 6 is a 6, it's an A minor. Right? So 6 is on top of 2, right? We're going to slide a whole step. 7. Now, I know in most examples, 7 is a diminished chord, but the way that I teach it specifically for R&B, we want to make a minor chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1. So what's the progression? 2, 3, 6. All right, so the reason why I chose this progression is when I first started learning how to play R&B, this was the first progression that was easiest for me to grasp and I could understand. So I was able to know like what the chords were. I could kind of hear it. I can kind of pick it out. So I want to talk to you about what the chords are and how it applied to me, so that way I was able to understand how to use it. All right, so let's get into it. So we're in the key of C major, right? So my 2 chord would be my D minor, my 3 chord would be my E minor, and my 6 would be my A minor. Really basic. It just allowed me, I could hear it and I could play it. It wasn't something that was hard for me to grasp. So I want to kind of give you like a little bit of a cheat code on how to approach it, right? So in the number system, your root is on the E string. I'm sorry, on the A string on the 3rd fret. We go a whole step to 2, a whole step to 3, right? And we go a half step to 4. If you go back to 1, right above 1 on the E string is 5. A whole step is 6. If you notice that 6 and 2 are in the same fret, so if I at least know where 2 is, I know where 6 is at, right? If I go another whole step, I see that 7 and 3 are in the same fret. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. So for me, I can always know based upon the spacing where I have to be with those chords. So if I say 2, 3, and 6, it's right there in that little box, which allows me to kind of know exactly what I need to do. Now, for level 1, it's really important to just know how to play this chord progression, 2, 3, 6. Let's make sure that we call out 2, 3, 6 when we're playing. So 2, we're just strumming. A downstroke, 3, and then 6. Really clean. You don't want to have to do any kind of heavy lifting. If we want to make it sound like R&B, we just have to kind of work on our timing. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want to make sure we hit that 6 twice in the progression, so we make sure that it sounds like the genre of R&B, okay? All right, let's take a look at how we can take this 2, 3, 6 and take it up a notch. I want to introduce you to the hammer-on. This is like R&B magic. This is R&B gold. So a hammer-on is a technique that we use when guitar players pick a note and they hammer down on the second note on the same string, which creates a second note without having to pick. Let me show you an example, right? So let's go back to our 2. That's the hammer-on. R&B is one of the main genres that uses it, but also is used in country, pop, and gospel. All right, so let me show you what it looks like, and I'll kind of explain it a little bit more to you. The hammer-on that we're practicing on specifically is off of the E string, right? For our 2 chord and our 3 chord, we want to do the same hammer-on. And then we get to our 6. We want to hammer off of that G string. So on our 2 chord, we're hammering off of the E string. We're going to slide up to our 3, do the same. And we're going to go to our 6 and do our hammer on off of the G string. So that's the exercise. And you want to keep looping that until you can get it to where you can't really mess it up. That's the idea behind practicing until you get it right, okay? Now we're going to move on to level 3. Level 3 is adding licks. So it's what we had with 2, but we're also adding licks, right? So imagine you're a steak lover. So would you get a steak without any seasoning on it? Think of licks as seasoning. Use the licks in order to give the song more flavor. All right, so the lick I'm going to show you is the lick from Get Gone. It's one of my first R&B songs. It was a real simple lick, very melodic, and allowed me to remember, okay? So the lick is... So we're starting off with that B string and working and really kind of focusing off the B string and the E string. Again. Chord. Next chord. Go to the 6. Lick. The more you practice it, the more you can work on your timing to know it's a little bit of a push whenever you're getting ready to do that lick after you do your 6 twice. So the way it makes the chord progression definitely start to feel more succinct and definitely have that R&B flavor. So let's move up a little bit and we want to talk about level 4. Now with level 4, we're going to be doing something called passing chords. This is a real cool thing. This is also really kind of stretching us out and taking us to another level, all right? Passing chords on a guitar are chords that are played briefly between other chords. Essentially, think of it as a bridge that connects different sections, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can use it. So I'm going to go 6, 7, 1. Now I'm going to use this diminished chord. I love diminished chords. Between 1 and 2. C sharp diminished. 2, 3, 6. So you see there's 2 different approaches that you can use with the passing chords. Passing chords are beautiful. Now, the one thing about when you're learning how to do passing chords, you want to practice doing them as often as possible. Then you slowly want to learn how to start pulling them back, because the discipline is when knowing how to use it and when not to use it, so the way you're not clouding that space. So before we move on to the final step, I was showing you what you can do. Now let's talk about practicing, how we can practice with the passing chord, right? We want to make sure we're being intentional. So we want to make sure you have a metronome, okay? That's going to help us know exactly what the timing and the changes, right? So let's go through that and let's practice doing this with the metronome. All right, so I have my metronome, and what I'm going to do is with my smartphone, I'm going to tap out the tempo that I want. That's the desired way that I want. So, all right, so I've landed on 65 beats per minute, right? So what I want to do is I want to play that so that I make sure that like my timing, I'm working on the timing. So let's keep that going. Let's play 2, 3, 6, 7, 1, diminish, 2, 3, 6. So when you're practicing, you want to make sure that you're also practicing your licks. You want to practice with your hammer-ons, and you want to practice with passing chords. Let me show you what that looks like, right? So that way you have a little bit more structure whenever you're playing. So let me practice it with the lick. Let's add the hammer-ons and the passing chords, because what we're doing now is we're building up, right? Lick. All right, let's get into our last level. Now, this level is more advanced. This is level 5. All right, so when you're using everything that we've learned up to this point, this is the part where we're talking about adding movements, okay? What are movements? Movements are melodic movements that help you play melodies in order to get the idea across, right? So movements may be like how you transition from one chord to another within the progression. They're really cool, but this is how you really start to stretch out, right? So I teach movements in Kerry's camp. I cover this like all the time, at least weekly. All right, let's get back to the movements from the minor 7 to the minor 9. What I'm talking about is D minor chord, right? 4-2, but I'm going to slide down here and play a D minor 9. But I'm not focusing on the bass, right? I want to make sure that I'm grabbing like the last 4 strings, right? I'm going to show you how I'm going to connect them. So this is one of those things that's really important that we pay attention to where we're going to slide to, right? So I know when I'm sliding, my pinky is going to stop on the 12th fret. We got to make sure we have that locked in. So what I want you to do is keep looping that to make sure we get that like locked in. It's not, you want to slide into it, right? With this particular movement, I need you to understand the spacing that's between this, right? So let's count the frets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our pointer finger is going to land on the 5th, like 5 frets down, right? This is typically works off of the 2 majority of all the time, right? So off of the 2, not the 3, just the 2. Now I'm doing a different kind of hammer-on move in order to get me to slide down, okay? Bouncing off of the B string. Now I'm going to go to E string. And then after I hit that E string, I'm going to slide. Now when I'm sliding down to that D minor 9, I'm going to do some other hammer-ons. That's a part of that movement, right? So 2, 3, 6, 2. So I just really quick. 2, 3, and then 6. Stuff like that helps develop that muscle memory, right? That's the first movement that I want to talk to you about. Now, the second movement I want to show you is one of, I call it like my triad walk down. So if you have a quartet background and you've played in church, so because we're in the key of C, I want to come down here and play my A minor. So this is my 6. This position will be for my 2, 1. So and then I'm going to come down to 2. So 6, 2, 1, 2. Now when I play my 2, I'm taking my middle finger and my ring finger off. I'm on my 4 note. And then a C major triad. Now let me show you how I'm going to use this in my progression, right? 2, 3, 6. Walk down. So it's real quick. You can use that movement to substitute from having to do different kind of walk downs. I love this movement. It's really cool that one of those things you definitely got to loop, you got to practice. You got to make sure that your timing is right. You want to make sure that it feels good. The transitions feel good. And the one thing about the different kind of movements, you can like break them up. So one time you may do like the minor 9, 2, go to 3. Next time you might do the triad walk down. Lick. Triad movement. Diminish. So when we did diminish, we're going to go minor 7 to minor 9. That movement that I just did right there is double stops. It's another technique that we can definitely add in our bag. It's off of the minor pentatonic, right? I I'm taking 2 strings at the same time. So I'm playing my A string and my D string together. I'm also playing my D and my G together. I'm chromaticing from my 3, the bass note. Landing on that C sharp diminished 7. Now, when you first learn how to practice, you want to do it as often as possible. So that way you get to develop that muscle memory. Also, you work on that the timing. It's really important that you understand that, okay? So level 1 was just the basic chord, 2, 3, 6. Level 2, we added the hammer on. Level 3, we added the lick. Level 4 was the passing chords. And level 5 was the movements. It's really important as you go through this not to rush. You want to focus in on quality. I understand there's a lot of new stuff. So like stay in those areas. If you got to stay in whatever level you got to stay at until you get it, that's what you want to do, right? You're going to have a really nice repertoire and a really nice tools that you can use in your toolbox. They're going to help you sound the way that you want to sound. Continue to keep practicing. I can't wait to hear about your progress.